All right. America's fastest growing budget racing series is a bit of a homecoming this late October weekend at NCM Motorsports Park. Bowling Green, Kentucky is the home of the Corvette since 1981, and it's produced over 1 million Corvettes since it was built. But this weekend, 14 of them have come home to go Spec Corvette racing. Hi, everyone. Welcome to NCM Motorsports Park for Spec Corvette, presented by Nanking Motorsports Tires. My name is Tom O'Gorman. I'm joined by series co-founder John Wynn and NorCal Region Director Josh Carroll. We are going racing for a qualifying 25-minute event, the Spec Corvette at NCM Motorsports Park. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining me. I'm very excited to get this thing going. So you can see cars rolling off the grid. We have more Spec Corvettes from more places across the country than we've ever had, which makes this weekend a little bit more special than all the rest so far this season. Cars rolling to the grid again. A 25-minute qualifying race. These drivers will be racing 3 times this weekend, 2 official races plus a qualifying race, which will set the grid for that first race. Coming up a little bit later at about 4:05 Central Time, we're going to take a ride along with take to the track for their warm-up lap. And Spec Corvette, presented by Nanking Motorsports Tires. This is the fastest growing budget racing series in North America. We have drivers from every region of Spec Corvette represented here: West Region, New Orleans, Central, Great Lakes, and Florida, for a total of 14 cars taking to the track. This race being a qualifying race, and this will be very exciting because a lot of these drivers may or may not have seen NCM Motorsports Park before, which has been built in 2007, so a little over 10 years in operation, but still a track that many drivers, especially those from further away regions, may not have been to. And these drivers have to share the track with a larger group of cars in addition to the 14 Spec Corvettes that they are racing with. There'll be a separate green flag for the drivers as they take to the track, working their way through the warm-up lap now on those Nanking Motorsports tires. In addition, we have Penske Racing shocks, the Spec Series coilover for Spec Corvette, and that Nanking NS2R 295/18 are wrapped around all of the wheels on these vehicles for this race. Wilwood disc brakes, 6-piston big brake kits on the cars, make sure they stop, along with FFP Racing fire suppression systems. TPS Motorsports is the official Corvette racing parts supplier for Spec Corvette. And Redline Oil is the official racing oil and fluid supplier for Spec Corvette. Got hood vents, racing radiators, aero, and sway bars from Track Spec Motorsports. And then the Spec Racing wheels, the official Spec wheels, and prefab roll cages that get bolted into these cars for the most basic of track prep. Topped off with some Sparco USA driver safety gear, racing belts, seats, and more. But these cars really are intended to be as close to stock as possible, with selected parts basically to improve reliability more than anything else. The 200 treadwear Nanking NS2R street tires on every single one of these cars with their stock LX6 engines, capped at 380 wheel horsepower to those rear wheels. Working our way down the back straight now as we dropped back a couple of cars. This is
a very exciting race for us at Spec Corvette. This is John Wynn from the West Coast. having 14 cars on grid coming all over from the United States is it's a great thing for us as a national race to see all these cars come together. And one of the best things that we've seen in this race is the qualifying times. Having 14 different cars built by 14 different people all around the United States and having them all qualify within a few seconds of each other is a real testament to the combination that we put together of simplicity and reliability on these cars. Tom?
Yeah, and speaking of qualifying, it's Ben Hocevar who's on pole at a 2:20.9. But if you want to lump them all together, basically the top 7 are close to on the same 2 seconds. So this is going to be really tight racing. The field is packed up, paired up. Ben Hocevar on the pole for the qualifying race with Christopher Heinzen behind him by about 0.3. Taylor Chantrain in 3rd. Larry Brady 4th. Ollie Thordartson in 5th. Rod Markovitz in 6th. And Wayne Cottle 7th. All those drivers in about the same 2-second range. So we're now headed up towards that green flag. Coming onto the front straight. Riding along with Walt Davison.
Here we go.
A little bit like releasing your kids off to school the first time after the growth of this series is seen, but the green flag flies. We're headed down to turn 1. Side by side, it's a quick right-left chicane here at NCM Motorsports Park with a lot of runoff. You see just how tight it gets. Single file working their way through, trying to get single file as quickly as possible. Walt Davison is going to slot in just behind.
Looks like that's Alexis Hocevar. Okay.
Alexis Hocevar, but
then we have Frank Reinhardt in front of Alexis and the Florida guys. So we have Walt Davison in the back. Looks like we have Alexis Hocevar. And in front of that, we had Cecil Stevens. So another view inside Larry Brady's car. It's a little bit of lap traffic there, that out of class traffic. Looks like we're inside Larry's car from Kansas City region. Him and Johnny coming from Kansas City. They started their region earlier this year and have already raced several races with us. Larry Brady actually made it all the way out to California to run Laguna Seca. Drove all the way out here with his family, enjoyed the scenery, and did some racing with us, which was pretty awesome. And now we're in his car here with Larry at NCM, tailing looks like Rod Markovitz, who was setting pretty fast last time.
He was absolutely on it coming through the field. A couple of spots back. That's the blue number 65 that we're chasing right now, riding along with Larry Brady, who's dropped a couple of positions since the green flag dropped. He's now setting his sights on, I think that might be the 300 of Taylor Chantrine, just in front of Rod Markovitz. Now down the back straight into Faux Rouge. We'll jump back a couple of spots.
So we're inside Alexis Hocevar's car. So Alexis and Ben both started the NOLA region for us down in New Orleans, and they started with their first 2 cars, and then now that's the second largest region in Spec Corvette racing in the New Orleans region. So they have about 8 cars with cars building every month, and Ben Hocevar is the hot shoe in that area. He's the guy to beat. And today, as you can see with the qualifying time, he's on pole. If we can get up to the front somehow, we can kind of see if he's still in the front. I believe we are in Rod Markovitz's car right now. And there we go. Is that Ben? Looks like Ben is out front with no traffic in front of him, or very little. So it looks like he's setting a pace.
Worked his way through a couple of those lapped cars, and that's one of the challenges when you come to a Spec Corvette race. You may or may not always get the track to yourself, and these drivers, a big swig for Hocevar over the turn 2, 1B curbing, I should say, through that chicane. You can use a lot of the curbing on the way in for the 1A, but 1B, that big curb, can toss the car. Now we're back to this battle that is now getting held up just a little bit. It's a 5-car battle, though. Whoa, and Larry Brady a little deep into turn 3 over the curbing and rattles that camera pretty hard. Curb's a little abrasive here at NCM Motorsports Park, but he's going to drop off the back of this battle that is now Rod Markovitz. I think that's Chris Heinzen, Taylor Chantrine, Ole Dollardson, and Rod Markovitz. 4 cars getting held up just a little bit by some other class traffic.
All right, Rod Markovitz trying to stick a nose in. I believe that's Tyler Chantrine from the Great Lakes region. And not being able to get it in there far enough, but he's going to work it. So a lot of these guys, it's the first time they've been on this track. So Ole Thordarson included, and a few others have not been on this track. So, the racing line is one thing, and the fast line's another for these guys. So some of these guys are still trying to figure out what is the preferred racing line, and with all this traffic out there, they're just trying to work it out as they go.
Sure, and having 3 races across the weekend is a really great opportunity to learn. We're going to see these drivers get quicker and quicker every lap as they're now catching into, looks like a little bit of American Iron traffic, and that's going to give maybe a run to the 18 car. That's Johnny Huang. Comes over
Johnny's
the blind crest at table toss and now deep on the brakes. But I was going to say, at NCM Motorsports Park, one of the challenges this track presents, you can see it, it's just a lot of corners, 23 of them in total, and a lot of them linked together, which makes passing really hard. There's a couple of great passing opportunities, but sometimes you just got to get creative, which is what we just saw going around that Mustang coming onto the back straightaway. And then this is the signature corner, dropping down over 5 stories into the sinkhole. It shoots you down the hill up into a couple of sweeping S's as we jump up now into this, I think, is Johnny Huang's car. Still chasing down the 65 of Rog Markovitz, but you see just how windy these last couple of corners are. It's really tough to make a pass happen there, so these drivers are going to have to get creative. We're starting lap number 3, and I think up at the front, Ben Hocevar is continuing to pull away. He's cleared that traffic and is able to get some clear track. Ooh, the 65 Markovitz looking racy down into turn 1, and now Wong is looking at the backside of him as well. Not going to be able to get anything done. Not a really long braking zone into turn 1 there, but the 65 car thought about it. And now we have a change for position up just a little bit, and that's going to bring a couple of these other cars back into the tray. I'm trying to get onto my live timing to see who these drivers are. Some exchanging in positions now side by side up into turn 5. This is over 100 miles an hour, 120 nearly as you hit the brakes for turn 5 and sweep across the nose. But I think that was Larry Brady taking over the position from the black number 300 car of Taylor Chantrine. So these are podium battles. Now the 65 car of Markovitz is going to set his sights on that 300.
Do we have Chris Heinzen's in car? That's what I'm seeing. Yeah,
Yeah, last time across the line, it was actually 5.6 seconds between Heinzen and Hocevar. So we hopped on board with Hocevar for a moment. It looked like he had clear sailing, but he must have had a mirror full of the 69 car, and something I suspect perhaps traffic maybe influenced that battle a little bit as we're working lap number 3. It's a 25-minute race with 11 minutes completed, just now ticking across 12 minutes. So we're about halfway through this one, jumping much further back in the field now. Looks like this is
Walt Davison
running 13th right now.
Yeah, Walt's build is a beautiful example of a Spec Corvette, and love watching that car come together. Beautifully powder-coated yellow or painted roll cage in that thing. Very clean build. And I remember Walt gave me a call and said he wanted to go Spec Corvette racing and got that car built, and here he is running an NCM where the Corvette was born. So
that's another one of those cars out of the NOLA region. So a huge number of those cars up. It looks like by my count, 6 or 7 of those drivers from New Orleans came up for this event. So that's great to see. Across the line last time across, Ben Hocevar at the front, 4.1 seconds now to Christopher Heinzen. And he's taken Ole Thordarson with him. So that battle is tightening up. But as we suspected, perhaps some traffic slowed Ben Hocevar down on lap number 4. And now he's going to chase Heinzen back down. So at the front, Christopher Heinzen leads by 4 seconds over Ben Hocevar. Ole Thordarson is in 3rd. And then we're riding along this battle. Taylor Chantrine's got a run. I'm sorry, that is Markovitz. Markovitz has a run on Chantrine, takes a look to the inside for turn 5, but thinks better of it. You see just how fast this corner is. A quick dab of the brakes to get the weight on the front of the car, and then a sweep immediately on the brakes now for one of the slowest corners on the track, turn 6. And Chantrine gets the car slowed down, so no door open this time for Markovitz. We're watching Johnny Huang in the yellow Corvette, 2 cars ahead, Taylor Chantrine in the 300 just in front of our camera car, Rod Markovitz, and Larry Brady is right on his tail as well. These drivers battling for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. They've lost touch just a bit from Ole Thordarson, which is the car that just left frame up in turn 10. We're getting into the phase of this race where I suspect, as good as the Nankang Motorsports tires may be, these cars are going to work them pretty hard, almost 400 horsepower to the wheels. You guys have experience in these cars. Do you get a little bit greasy in a 25-minute race, or are they pretty solid?
Yeah, there definitely is a tire management comes into play. The tires do hold up well, but as you approach the 12 to 13-minute mark of full-blown racing, these tires do start to get a little bit greasy. And part of the strategy for us is to how do we maintain that and use that strategy to our advantage to get above your competitors. So that certainly is a factor in here and part of your racecraft that you got to build into your driving.
Yeah, I love that aspect of it. Even though we're sprint racing, there is some management still going on. Jumping up to Ben Hosevar's car, this is in second place, and the car is just in front. You saw a car of a different class. Now going down the front straight, going around our race leader, Christopher Heinzen. Last time across the line, it was 4.1 seconds. Just now across the line now, we'll see, 1.2. So Ben Hosevar takes a huge gap out of Christopher Heinzen this time through. Both of those drivers dealing with some slower traffic in other classes. Ole Thordarson is a little bit lonely now in third place. And then this great battle for fourth with Wong, Chantrine, Markovitz, Brady, Wayne Cottle, and Cecil Stevens seem to be right in there as well. Had one car off. I'm not sure if that was a Spec Corvette or not. I'll try to get the number on that car, but this it's going to be 6 cars nose to tail battling for this fourth spot. Ooh, you can see the tires starting to maybe go away a little bit on the 65 car running wide. And I think that's Markovitz running wide. Larry Brady started to follow him a little bit coming down into turn 2. So he might have had some target fixation, and looks like Taylor Chantrine might have a run on Johnny Wong up in fourth. That's the yellow and black cars at the front of this train. So fast through here in turn 6, and Chantrine takes a look. He's deep on the brakes, not going to have an opportunity to make a move this time, but he's putting the pressure on big time. And then we come into this big handling section, drops through turn 7, and then a rise up into turn number 8. Oh, Markovitz takes a peek, trying to fill the mirrors of the 300 car, and it opens a door for him. He might be able to get a run down to turn number 10. We sweep through turn 8 and 9 right here, and then a really awkward decreasing radius braking zone. It's really tough to get the car tucked in, but Markovitz does a good job, and Chantrine gets the power down, though. You see the back end wiggle just a bit, and now up into Deception, just a complete blind right-hander. You don't see where you're going until you're over the crest and onto this back straight. I think Chantrine may have been distracted with the mirrors full of Rob Markovitz, who we ride along with, and that's given Johnny Wong a little bit of room. That's the yellow Corvette, just cresting the hill at turn 16 now.
All right, we're in the car. Ben Hosevar. Looks like Ben is on the coattails of Christopher Heinzen, our race leader, and coming up to some traffic here. That's going to be some interesting movement, how we're going to get around the lap traffic. It could work with you or work against you. So let's see how this all plays out here. It looks like the traffic ahead has a good amount of power as it just pulls away pretty hard as it comes out of the corners on the straightaway. So it may not be a factor as they come into turn 1.
Yeah, it'll start to pull away down this front straight and this next straightaway. Oh, it's getting shake up down here. We're riding back along with Rod Markovitz, and this battle's not going anywhere for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. It looks like they have some lap traffic now interfering with this battle as well. They're going to poke to the right side under the start-finish stand. 17 and a half minutes complete of a 25-minute race, deep on the brakes and starting to work their way through some other traffic.
This is going to be a factor right here. Looks like it's slower traffic. Maybe a T2
for Johnny Wong, who has cleared those cars before turn 1. You see how much Taylor Chantrine was held up.
Oh, look at that.
Really tight stuff down into turn 2, but clean still. And now the power of the Corvettes should come alive. 380 horsepower to the wheels. And those LS6s start to roar up to turn number 5. This is Hosevar for the lead. That is around Christopher Heinzen in turn 7. They're still side by side up into turn 8. Door handle to door handle, and Heinzen's going to sweep back across the nose. Maintains the lead. You see the X on the back of that car. That means he's a rookie for this race weekend, but driving like a pro, keeping the Hosevar hot shoe behind him. We'll look at the back end stepping around into turn number 10, gets the power down, and now we're headed towards the back straight. They're going to get a little bit of a breather, but you can set up to get a good run over Deception. Right here, you crest. Both of the drivers doing a good job to get onto the back straight.
So Hosevar has a lot of wheel experience with driving Super Unlimited cars with a Trans Am Camaro that him and his father Alexis drive into the NOLA region. So Ben is not any amateur when it comes down to racing racecraft. He's certainly been around for his age. He's driven a lot of races has a lot of experience. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out with Chris Heinzen being a little bit newer to wheel with Ben Hocevar behind him. He's got the speed and he's got the racecraft. Let's see how it holds up.
Yeah, and this will be great to watch. How creative can Hocevar get with how non-traditional, I would say, NCM Motorsports Park's layout is for wheel-to-wheel racing. Can make passing really, really challenging, but it also makes defending really challenging because there's a lot of track and a lot of corners to get right. And these cars now starting to move around quite a bit. We're completing lap number 7 across the start-finish straight, tapping the brakes just to make sure the pedal's there and hard on them, grabbing them a couple downshifts.
Oh, closed his door. He shuts the door on him. It's amazing how close in power in these cars are. You can see it coming down the straightaway. There is nothing. Nobody's moving from anybody from a power standpoint.
That time across, there's no interference from other lap traffic, and both Heinzen and Hocevar, the top 2 cars, look at the run Hocevar's got. Might be able to get a nose on Heinzen coming up to turn 5, but I was going to say both of them fastest across the line for their personal best lap times of 2:20.9 and 2:20.7 respectively. So Hocevar is the faster car on track, but Heinzen sends it in there, gets a bit of a wiggle.
Whoa.
That's at over 100 miles an hour and
walls
hangs on
everywhere.
Man,
wow. He's giving Heinzen everything he's got.
He's feeling the pressure, though. That car looks like it's getting a little more nervous. And this is where Hocevar seems to have the pace. Shows the nose on the inside of turn 8. And they get the power down. A little bit of a break as they run now down into turn number 10. And look at Heinzen just gaps him. Gets a great run out of turn 8 and buys himself some breathing room. Whoa, a huge slide from Hocevar. The camera car sliding wide. Does a good job to keep it on the track, but loses a bunch of ground. In the background, Tyler Chantrine was able to get around Johnny Wong for 4th, but we're going to keep it here because this is a great battle for 1st. Looks like something might have happened to Rod Markovitz. He's back to the pit lane, unfortunately, so that promotes Larry Brady up to 6th. As we have a breather, we'll run down Heinzen, Hocevar as the battle we're watching. Thordarson is still in a relatively lonely 3rd, about 7 seconds back of this battle. Chantrine 4th, Wong, Brady, Caudle, Stevens, Frank Reinhardt, and Taylor Ramey round out the top 10. With a little under 5 minutes to go in this race. Working our way towards the sinkhole on lap number 8 for Spec Corvette, presented by Nankang Motorsports Tires. Can Ben Hocevar find any way around Christopher Heinzen for the win in this qualifying race? Again, this race is just to set the grid for the race a little bit later today, 4:05 Central Time.
So Chris Heinzen is actually a GM engineer. And a longtime Corvette fan, so he would love to come back to Detroit with a win under his belt. But looks like Ben is sticking the nose in there. Wow, he's only giving him exactly 1 car width, and does he have the speed to get around him? He goes wide, super
he's
wide,
too deep.
way too wide.
Yeah, that was
a big mistake.
A challenging choice too to go to the left. I think he was going to try to sweep around the outside and have the inside for turn 1B, but it didn't pay off for him. And now he's going to be about 3 or 4 seconds back of Christopher Heinzen, who's continuing to stay cool under pressure. Both these drivers setting a fastest personal lap, and across the line last time, 0.035 was the gap. You see on the timing and scoring on the right side of your screen, less than a 1/10 of a second, door to door across the start finish line last time, but the battle's fizzled with that mistake from Ben Hocevar. Tyler Chantrine sets a personal best lap time that time through to gap Johnny Wong. And at the start finish line, the overall race leader has taken the checkered flag. So we are on the white flag lap, which means Ben Hocevar may not have an opportunity to catch back up to Heinzen, even if he has the pace.
Now the question is, where's Ole Thordarson in this race? He's in 3rd place. Is he behind Ben now, taking advantage of that?
Looks like he's about 10 seconds back. So Tyler Chantrine's actually closer to catching Thordarson than Thordarson is to catching Hocevar. Closest battle on the track right now. This is Frank Reinhardt back in 9th place, running about 10 seconds clear of Taylor Ramey for the top 10. So if Frank can bring this one home, he will get the 53 car a top 10 in the qualifying race. Here's the battle I was looking for. This is the 18 of Johnny Wong being chased down by the camera car, the 58 of Larry Brady. And they've got some lap traffic to deal with, which has been a big influence for this whole entire race. And they're both going to get a run up the outside of Deception. That's really tough. Wong clears him. Brady trying to get through. This is tight. Oh, backs out of it. Smart choice, but that's going to be probably the decider between Wong and Brady for the top 5. Look at that.
And
Wayne
with
Cottle
that,
sweeps
look at that.
around the outside. Yeah, the 56 car. That's Wayne Cottle, I think, just
The NOLA
blows,
region. Yep.
blows around the outside.
Looks like Cottle took advantage of that one, looking at lap traffic, and Larry Brady made a small mistake, went a little bit wide, but kept it safe. And Wayne was right there behind him just to take that position from him. Let's see if he tries to get it back.
Brady
Lots
was
of sliding.
Racy on the brakes, but you see just how much these cars move around. They look like a blast to drive, I got to say. And at the start-finish line, Christopher Heinzen taking the win in the qualifying race. Whoa, Larry Brady going for a ride, trying to get away from Wayne Cottle, but Cottle's going to take the position with that mistake from Brady. So Christopher Heinzen taking the win in the number 69 car. Ben Hocevar, second place, 4.7 seconds was the gap at the start-finish line. Wooly Thordarson will be third, 6 seconds back of that. Tyler Chantrine, Johnny Huang will round out the top five after those two had great battles the entire race. Wayne Cottle will maintain sixth position after Larry Brady made that slight mistake coming through the S's onto the start-finish straight to finish seventh. Cecil Stevens, 4 seconds back, was pretty close to this battle as well. He comes home eighth with Frank Reinhardt and Taylor Ramey rounding out the top 10. A little wave in the camera there to the corner workers as Larry Brady now working his cool down lap and qualifying for race number one. That will set the grid, and I think we're in for a barn burner for not only today's race at 4:05 Eastern, but tomorrow's race, Central, and tomorrow's race at 11:20 Central time, because Heinzen and Hocevar, if it wasn't for that little mistake, that was going to be a battle to the line. All right, so as the drivers finish working their cool down laps, we will wrap this up. We have our next race today, 4:05 p.m. Central Time. That's 5:05 Eastern or 2:05 Pacific. If you're joining us from across the country, thanks for joining us at NCM Motorsports Park for a Spec Corvette qualifying race, setting us up for two more races on the weekend. Again, this is Spec Corvette presented by Nanking Motorsports Tires. And a big thanks to the rest of the partners for the series: Penske Racing Shocks, FFP Racing Fire Systems, TrackSpec Motorsports, Redline Oil, Willwood Brakes, Sparco USA, and Spec Racing, the official wheel and roll cage of Spec Corvette. Once again, thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you again at 4:05 Central Time for race one, NCM Motorsports Park Spec Corvette.